All right, for those of you at home, here's the monopoly problem number 1. I think this is. So marginal cost is constant at $4. You know what your marginal cost is. This was what? 90, 160, 210, 240, 250, 240, yada, yada, yada. Your marginal revenue has to be 9, 7, 5, 3, 1, -1, -3, -5, -7. So if we add those in, if you look at what you have between price, does that align? Does that make sense with what you know about the relationship between price and MR for a pure monopoly? This goes 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. This goes 9, 7, 5, 3, 1. Does that correlate? It does, because this is downward sloping and this goes faster. Right? So that goes faster. So that correlates. It would look like that and that, which is exactly what your demand and margin revenue curve should look like. And then if you want to answer the question down here, is looking at what's your price and output method that you're going to use. 9, 7, 5, 3, 1, -1, yeah, and so on and so forth. And so, well, if I'm going to find my profit maximizing output, you again have to go back to one of the 5 concepts. Where do you maximize profit? Where MR equals MC. Well, I'm going to go through it and my cost is $4. So I'm going to go down and, well, marginal cost at 4 is greater than this 3. So I don't want to do that one. I want to go up 1. So your answer for number 2 should have been $7 and a quantity of 30. $7 and a quantity of 30. Now the next one is a little more tricky because this is about perfect competition. The trick is this. If it's about perfect competition, you have to remember what the relationship is between marginal revenue and price. There is not a separate marginal revenue column when you see this as perfect competition. The price is your marginal revenue. And so we just have to find where my quantity of 4 is equal over here. And so the answer number 3 would be $4 at a quantity of 60. Because you don't have a separate MR curve. Because in perfect competition, the demand is your MR. You do not have that one. And so we ignore that other column. And so that's how you have to see that. That's how you have to see that. Questions or clarifications on that? And you're going to do a couple different problems here that just has you identify things in a graph for this. Right? So let's take a couple moments and do the check your understanding number 3, which I do believe is right there. Check your understanding number 3. So there's only, I think there's 2 or 3 questions, so this will not take us very long. 2 or 3 questions. These 2 have a little bit weird wording, I will tell you. So this you could produce 3, but if you produce a 4, this is marginal cost. Your revenue is still 16. Is still more. So you're getting hung up with it's the closest to, right? But it's not just about the closest to. It's what's the last output where marginal revenue is still more than marginal cost, or they're equal.
That makes sense.
So then when you get 20 and all the rest of these, you can't do any of those. You have to go up 1.
Okay.
For those of you at home, they're doing check and understand number 3. I should have just paused it, but I can't figure out how to pause it, so I'll just do a tap dance up here. We're waiting for this thread. Well, so look at your options. You got G, J, N, right? So you're looking at G is the, when it says the combination, is the price and output.
Because MR
That
goes up
where
to
G
6
is.
when you're in perfect competition.
Is that where price is? Is that G?
So change MR Well, I don't know, where's price always?
What are you looking at?
Okay, so then it's not G, is it?
Nothing there?
No, because the price is up there, so it can't be G.
It's N and J.
Right, so then if you have J,
Yeah.
that's where the quantity is, and that's what this is.
Did that. All right, any other questions? Any other questions to make sure, like I said, the wording is a little bit weird on these. Combination points, the quantity levels, they're just a little bit weird. You know, hopefully you can figure it out. Holy cow. Only 23 minutes. 23 minutes. We were sitting there like this. Well, that's really aggressive. Don't get mad at me for saying there's 23 minutes left. So I give my wife, my kids a hard time when they just like stuff like that. Seriously, don't be so mean. All right, you ready? Here we go. Top of page 14. Top of page 14. The first 2 points of this is a review. First 2 points is a review. Make sure we're still lined up here. We're lined up. Oh, we are going, right? Yes, we are going. Okay. First 2 points are review, and then we have you do some more graphing, as you see a whole lot more graphing on here, which is yay. The efficiency point. There's 2 different points of efficiency: allocative and productive. Allocative efficiency. What you need to remember from that is the cost of the last unit that you produce. What's another word for that? Another 2 words for that is marginal cost. The cost of the last unit that you produce, which is marginal cost, is equal to what is demanded by society, which is your demand. Hence, that's why you are allocatively efficient when you produce, where demand equals marginal cost. So we're going to identify and just review this. This is what we hit last Friday. We're going to identify these the allocative and productive again, and then we're going to graph where they are on the different graphs, on the pure for competition and then the pure monopoly. And then productively efficient is this. You are producing where the firm is minimizing its average cost per unit, which means it is the minimum point of the ATC. So those are the 2 different things that you may have forgotten, maybe you remember from Friday, because I know you hang on every word that is said. I'm gonna circle this, and I'm gonna circle this. You can only be productively efficient, allocatively efficient, if your quantity is where demand equals marginal cost. Now, you can have an allocative efficient spot on any curve, but if your quantity's not there, you're not allocatively efficient. And if for productive efficiency, your quantity has to be the minimum of that ATC. Right? So that's the key thing that you have to see when you look at allocative and productive efficiency. And I will tell you that most firms don't achieve any of them. Perfect competition doesn't exist. Pure monopoly doesn't exist. But monopolistic competition does, and so does oligopoly. So we'll look at them a little bit more as we go through. All right, so here's you're going to have that first spot underneath there. Here's what the lesson is asking for, your sheet. A perfectly competitive firm earning short-run profit, and then graph a perfectly competitive firm in the long run. My hope is you continue to graph these, you'll become more familiar. If you're not thinking, you're just copying, and if you're not thinking, then you're not connecting dots. You have to be familiar, so I'm going to give you a chance to get started, and then I'm going to add the appropriate graph. So draw a perfect competition firm, not the industry, so it should not be a supply-demand curve. One has a profit, one has a long run equilibrium. So I'll give you a minute, and then I'll start adding. You're all good there. You're all good there.
But remember, this is perfect composition. Perfect composition is going down, so if you anchor it down. Okay, yeah, sure. You now you gotta think about, okay, yeah, that's right, what does the anchor look like for a perfectly competitive firm? They're a price taker. Fifty-fifty chance, it's one of those two.
All right, here we go. All right, that's our quantity. For the first one, making a profit. Just throw it in there just for giggles. Next one. Price, demand, MR, marginal cost. And I'll add in the last thing in a second. I want to make sure that make sure that you are please adding in your P and Q, dot, 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 dot. Every single time do that, otherwise you're going to forget it later on when you would do an exam. And you're going to lose points for it. Just like someone did on the test that we had, on the midterm. The whole graph was beautiful, except they didn't have any P's or Q's. Lost 2 points. Because you gotta learn, right? You gotta do it the right way. All right, so if you remember, this is short, this is long run. In the long run, here's my quantity. My advice for you when you build this, my advice is do that. Start here, right? It's too hard to start up here and then try to hit magically at the minimum point. So just go here and just add it that way and just add it that way. All right, so that's our long run. That's perfect competition in the long run. So that's one. All right, let's just go back. Look at the top of your page again. All right, allocative efficiency. I want to know, where am I allocatively efficient? Okay, so Avery, where is any firm allocatively efficient again?
Where MR is greater than? No.
Look at the very,
Less than.
less than what?
MC.
Then what?
MC.
Oh, the marginal cost.
MR is less.
Okay, that can happen. But look at the top bullet in the left-hand side of your page. See where it says allocatively efficient?
Oh.
It says the quantity has to be right here, where demand equals marginal cost. And guys, remember what allocative efficiency means. That means I am spending the correct amount of money, so the cost of my last unit produced is the same thing as my demand. This point right here is allocatively efficient. And so I'll do the same thing over here. That's allocatively efficient. Both those points. Now, I guess the question, if we know we produce, you're allocatively efficient when your quantity is where demand equals marginal cost. Sahasra, for the perfectly competitive firm, the short run is our quantity where demand equals marginal cost. Yes, okay. Darcy, is our quantity where demand equals marginal cost here? Yes, it is. So that means that perfect competition, do you remember what we said on Friday? Perfect competition is always allocatively efficient. Always. It's short run and long run. You're always allocatively efficient. Short run and long run, because you're producing where demand equals marginal cost, and when MR equals demand, that's the same exact spot. So we're going to be allocatively efficient there. So no price effect, is that the case? This again is no price effect. No price effect means that I am going to be allocatively efficient. So productive efficiency. TJ, welcome back. You've been gone for 4 days. I'm going to ask you a question. Productive efficiency is where? When you look at the top, if you don't remember right away, look at the top of that page for the notes. Good, so your quantity has to be where? Where are you minimizing? Minimum the ATC right here. That is productive efficiency as well. Amelie? So is the perfectly competitive firm in the long run productively efficient? Is our quantity at the minimum of the ATC? Here's our quantity. Is that at the minimum of the ATC?
Yeah.
Yes, it is. So we are productively efficient in the long run, but we are not in the short run. So that's perfect competition. As that quick review, we did this actually on last Thursday. So that kind of reviews a little bit of what that was for last Thursday. Now the next step for you is looking at you for you to do two different things. Actually, just one. Underneath there it wants you to do a pure monopoly. Just so I want you to go back. You're going to graph the pure monopoly just like you have been. But we need to figure out if a pure monopoly is allocatively efficient. If so, why? If not, why not? So go in and it will look like this. And there's probably a hint on what the graph is titled, but I'll let you figure that out. Okay, just graph your monopoly. It may be smart if when you graph monopolies that you put the MR curve past the 0 point. Because at some points you'll be asked where the revenue maximizing point is, and that's only when MR equals 0. So it may be smart for you to extend that MR past that 0 line. I didn't tell you that last page. That's my fault. So hopefully this graph will look familiar to you. Add the P, add the Q. Identify where the allocative efficient quantity is. Okay, identify where the allocative efficient quantity is. Just going to give you a moment to all right, here's what you have. Here's the pink MR and MC. Here's my Q. I'm using a big Q now because it's monopolies are an industry, and you go up to your price point. And so I have this, and you can add in profit if you wanted to. I can throw in a profit line. It's perfectly fine here. The point that I hope that you did is this: you saw the fact that is where that's where you would be allocatively efficient. So I asked the question of this: is a monopoly allocatively efficient? Dylan, why not? So I knew I should have shook my head. Why not? Because they don't produce there. That's it. If you know that allocative efficiency is where demand equals marginal cost, well, unless the quantity is there, You can't be allocatively efficient. So what I'm hoping is the next thing I say, I'm hoping will jog something in your head to go, oh, God, yeah, I remember that from like 3 weeks ago. All right, so ready? If you are not producing the allocative efficient quantity, which we are not, which our quantity is way back here, if we're not producing the allocative efficient quantity, what is that? Ah, booyah, right here, deadweight loss. That brings it up from when we did quotas and taxes and ceilings and floors. Because when we were at the supply equals demand, well, we were allocatively efficient. Right? When we just had a supply demand curve like this, we were allocatively efficient. That's our optimal quantity. When we added a price floor, a price ceiling, a quota, a tax, right? That was deadweight loss the entire way through. Now we have deadweight loss again. And so our pure monopoly has deadweight loss, and because of one factor, which has two words, because of the price effect. Because if you don't have the price effect, then the demand MRE right here, and then you're allocatively efficient. If I was to add in the MR here and say, where is the perfectly competitive firm? Well, that's PC. Here's PC. Oh, hey, look at that. That perfectly competitive firm is allocatively efficient. And you're like, oh, they should be because they're always allocatively efficient. And so the moral of this story is that a pure monopoly is never allocatively, efficient due to the price effects. They're never allocatively efficient. A pure monopoly, if a price maker has the price effect, they cannot be allocatively efficient. They can't be. Because the MR is going to be less than the demand curve, and allocative efficiency is where demand equals marginal cost. Big piece. All right, so I'm just going to pause here. We got deadweight loss that came up again. The last thing we'll do, we're not going to have time to do the check your understanding number 4. This is a little bit more challenging, but I would like you to graph what does it look like if a pure monopoly is productively efficient. That means, again, that the quantity has to be at the minimum of the if I wish to do sign language, ATC. The minimum of the ATC, the quantity has to be there. So I'll let you kind of ponder that for a moment.
Where is it proper maximizing quantity always? You just asked that. I asked that question here, asked it here, asked it here, and asked that question back here. Where is the quantity always? You're always maximizing profit. What equals what? I'm gonna tattoo that on your face. Actually, on your hand. It's your face, you couldn't see it. Right, maybe on your hand. Okay, so you can't do it here. That's not MR and MC. Right? So you have to make sure that where's your ATC in there yet? There you go. Right there. There you go.
So all it is, folks, is this. The ATC is down here. That's my quantity. That's my price. And right here is productively efficient. So a pure monopoly can be productively, but they can't be allocatively. Add in shade the deadweight loss in there again too. The Spirit's always going to shade that deadweight loss. Always going to shade that. And so here's what I enjoy. What I enjoy about this process is we keep taking the same things And we just are now, we're just now taking the stuff before. Now we're bringing up dead weight loss. We're talking about profit maximizing. We're just using the same things different ways. And so again, the question I ask you is, if you are at the point where you're like, yep, I'm not getting profit, I'm not getting profit maximizing, I'm not getting, okay, what are you going to do about it? Right? So you got to ask yourself, what are you going to do about it? Because at this point, by the time we come in tomorrow, I hope that tomorrow and for Wednesday, when we talk about this, the rest of it, actually even after spring break, those 5 concepts: price, quantity, profit, efficiency, and surplus. Those are the 5 different things that are going to be on the AP exam, and they're going to be on the final as well, my final. Right? We're going to have to stop there. We don't have time to do surplus. We will hit surplus at the beginning of tomorrow, and pure monopoly in the short run and long run. And with that being the case, peace out at home.